It's 12:12 p.m. on August 2nd, 2020. On Friday, I confiscated a $24 million donation to Biden's campaign because it had been laundered through accounts that were illicitly set up under Obama. Unfortunately, what was the public notice on that $24 million happens to correlate with the process right now that's being announced of Biden considering women for vice president. On the news, I recently heard there's 19 candidates, and not so ironically, I've been working a 1.9% hedging strategy since last year when I tried to file in the district court. And when you follow it, at least using my scheme, it's excellent at hitting the benchmarks. But I never get the credit and I never get the acknowledgement because it's been too busy being laundered through other people. And so, at some point, actually last week, right before I intercepted this $24 million campaign donation, there was some recalibration. I understand there's some adjustment in the market. But in the meantime, if there is a qualified woman, I should be able to participate. I'm going to do that thing that I pretty much imagine all of these men have been doing with people like me and you, which is that we are nothing really more than a product. And if you're being considered for the number two slot, then it's probably to balance out the whole way they've created the pension scheme. See, Ron Paul said something very recently that was very important. He was talking about how things were coming up and that he anticipated the younger generation was going to start doing very, very provocative things during this election season. One of the things that they were going to be doing was addressing these sort of necessary moments of juxtaposition to the retirement system and the fact that used to be for a long time and currently right about now, the primary voting bloc is retirees. And so the question of how do you see yourself represented has to be contrasted with what they told you you were going to get for your retirement, right? And that's why we're not allowed to have a woman president right now. That's why we're not even allowed to have a female presidential candidate right now. Because they've spent the last 5 years making sure any woman that has competent leadership capacity was subordinated to that guy who's expecting his retirement bonus. So, who's on deck for the retirement bonus? Now, let me just say, if I was to intercept the nuke that they're going to try to give as the sidearm to the guy that they're vying for president right now, I would have treated you differently. But what I haven't learned is that men are visual, and you don't get much of a chance to make a second impression. What do they say? You got about 3 minutes? Not even 60 seconds. So, what is my 60-second rundown of the 13 women that have been most recently identified as the most eligible candidates for vice president? Let's see who we got. All right, number one, Kamala Harris, senator from California since 2017. Unfortunately, I got a backstory with Senator Harris, and I don't like the idea of doing that East Coast West Coast rivalry stuff. So let's see who else there is. Elizabeth Warren. Unfortunately, I remember from the election of 2016, the Doublemint twin thing didn't work out very well. And unfortunately, you've also been acknowledged as one of the major Medicare for All kind of proponents for a considerable amount of time. I was really hoping to hear more about your criticism of Malpass's presentation regarding the World Bank. But unfortunately, in over 2 years, that hasn't even come up. Who we got next? Tammy Duckworth. Ah, yes, from Illinois. See, the ironic thing is before you got in there, there was somebody else that was vying for that spot. And I understand one of your major campaign contributors was also one of the major campaign contributors of the reason why a woman's not allowed to run for president right now. Let's see what else we got. Susan Rice. I can't say I know enough about you. Let's see, National Security Advisor and Ambassador to the United Nations under President Obama. Oh my God, that went so well, didn't it? Okay, The Iran nuclear deal and the Paris Climate Agreement. Wow, can you say two of the biggest defaults in a recent presidential administration? Do you have the capacity to leverage that for another 4 to 8 years? Let's see, we got Karen Bass. Representative from California, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, former speaker of the California State Assembly. Let's see, what are your major issues here? Public health, student debt, and foster care. Ah, I see. They gave you 2 triples in this description, which is very interesting, the way they gave you those little triples that they didn't give to the other people. But here's the interesting thing. Subcommittee on Africa, global health, and human rights. It seems like they're trying to do that thing where they pigeonhole you into a policy as a supporting woman that's going to be attending to people's illnesses and ailments. If you disagree with that characterization, I look forward to hearing from you. Val Demings, let's see, representative from Florida, served as police chief in Orlando and a long career there as an officer. I see, former police chief. I don't know, to be honest with you, that sounds very interesting to me. I do have a question though, if you can address what you consider to be appropriate chain of command and authority for abuse of power, especially when you're the chief. If you could provide me with a statement on how you would respond to allegations that the chief of the division was engaged in abuse of power and what would be an appropriate process for holding them accountable, you might just be my running mate. Thanks. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mayor of Atlanta in 2018, served 2 terms on the Atlanta City Council. Here's the thing about you, cyber insurance. We've had a big problem with defrauding the terrorist risk insurance program for other kinds of so-called insurance to be put into a private insurance marketplace. And Atlanta is ground zero for the call of municipalities for cyber insurance. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that the CDC is headquartered in Atlanta. And seeing as how you were there as recently as 2018, that means there's a big burden of proof on you that there wasn't some sort of insider politicking hoping to make your way to the White House. Gretchen Whitmer, let's see, governor of Michigan, former Democratic leader in the Michigan State Senate. Democratic response to President Trump's State of the Union address in February. Let's see, broken roads, raising the minimum wage, and investing in education. Let me ask you, how do you feel about that characterization? This is how they said it, signature issues. Michigan's broken roads, raising the minimum wage, and investing in education. You do know that that sounds like a recipe for trafficking of women, right? I mean, that's how they characterized you. Personally, I would take issue with that. And maybe you would too. Tammy Baldwin. Okay. Let's see. Served terms in the House. First openly gay person to win a seat in the Senate. Don't you love it when they try to come up with some way to characterize you that is supposed to give some sort of demographic experience indicator as opposed to really giving an evaluation of your policy potential? Here we go. Pros and cons. Baldwin would bring populist credentials and local popularity. But she's relatively little known nationally. Many Democrats might object to an all-white ticket. Oh my God. You're not white. You're gay. Michelle Lujan Grisham. Let's see how we got here. Governor of New Mexico. Served 3 terms in Congress. Was chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. All right. Am I supposed to say anything about the fact that you have blonde hair? Your hair is more blonde than me. I'm just letting you know because this might give me some sort of identity crisis. Would I have to go like get some color or like deal with my gray just because I don't want him to get us mixed up, right? Let's see what else we got here. Relationship with Biden. Lujan Grisham and Biden do not have a close relationship, but he did endorse her candidacy for governor in 2018. Maybe there's something more to it than that, huh? Hey. Do you believe that Joe is on some sort of shamanic path, as some people are wont to? Stacey Abrams, former Democratic leader in the Georgia House of Representatives, leader of the advocacy group Fair Fight Action, focused on voting rights. All right, voting rights. Let me ask you, Miss Abrams, how do you feel about multiple voter registrations for homeless people or people that have been in and out of domestic violence shelters that have been trafficked between different municipalities in the time frame between primary elections, or rather what they would call the presidential election terms? I, for instance, have been registered to vote in 4 cities between the last presidential election and this one. And I have no way of verifying that they've canceled the prior election registrations I had in other states. How do you feel about that? I would be very, very interested because actually I think that's one of the biggest issues we have in this country right now, especially when it comes to election integrity. Maggie Hassan. Let's see. Has a strong credentials as governor and senator from a state Hillary Clinton barely won in 2016. So, of course, they have to subordinate you to your reference point via Hillary Clinton. Now, I'm supposed to just keep pass. I'm just supposed to pass and just keep moving on. I know what it's like to not be allowed to have an independent identity without being compared to how you stack up to Hillary Clinton's goals. Is there anything else here that they've said about you and your capabilities? Expanded Medicaid at the state level, and sponsored large scale legislation addressing the opiate crisis. You know, as somebody that actually has been alleged to be Appalachian, the constant association with me and opiates happens to be a big problem. I happen to think that there's something kind of, how can I put it? Is it racist? About the fact that the only policy issues they mention in regards to you is Medicaid, opiate crisis, and then a comparison with how well you served Hillary Clinton. Gina Raimondo. Let's see. Governor of Rhode Island, served as state treasurer, former venture capital executive, was chair of the Democratic Governors Association in 2019. Really? You overhauled the state's unstable public pension system. This could be a winner here. So far you're like, if you can really deliver on that, you're definitely one to go with. All right, Amy Klobuchar. I hope I said your name correctly, ma'am. I apologize. Yes, here you go, ma'am. George Floyd, when he died, were you aware that there was a major bond flip that was happening and that had pinpoint targeted not only that city, but it also targeted that name in reference to a case that was being flipped? I don't know. This is like absolutely the crucial information that would be addressed under my administration. So if you actually have something more to say about that than defund the police unilaterally, I might be interested in talking with you. Okay, so I know who my top three selections are. Was that the 60-second pitch? We're 12 minutes here.